All right. Welcome back to the Evolution with Mac and Jenn podcast. We are so excited to be here today, aren't we, Mac?
Yep.
How are you?
Always
How are you today?
me.
Yeah.
Terrific. It's been a good morning.
It has been a good morning. Okay. So, what are we going to talk about today? Do you have any thoughts, things?
Well, I think, like you said, maybe it'd be a good one to retouch on the 1 year since we got married, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Our anniversary is
Mm.
coming up.
Maybe go over some of the stuff like what we were talking about last night, as far as what led to it. Why did you know why did we wind up together when there was so much opportunity and everything else? Why
Okay.
was that?
Okay.
Just see what comes out.
All right. So,
First,
well, okay, no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say first, maybe just kind of give a quick go over some experience as far as like when we got married, what happened, how it's gone, better, whatever, those types of things, your feelings, my feelings. Fine.
All right, so our anniversary is when? Tomorrow.
Hmm.
1 year. I'm so excited. It went by really fast. For me, I feel like the this year has been awesome.
Hmm.
I'm so happy. I feel so lucky and so blessed. Um, what
Yeah.
else? I don't know.
Well, we've done a lot of traveling this year. More, but before we traveled, we'd like fly places, but this year we've done stuff more like in the get out in the wilderness, get out in the hills and travel around, see the sights. Lots of national parks, different things. Cameron started a new school. So there's just been a lot of movement around. But you know what? One of the things that was very fascinating when we got married was like everything was great, leading up to it. I mean, conditions can always be better, but they were just good. It was good. Like things moved, they progressed. It was very intentional. We were very aware. And then we get married, and it was almost like, and we've talked about this, where it got a little disrupted. Like as soon as we got married, like some triggers came back. It was like, oh, now what? Maybe some old memories and things. And I think for a couple of weeks there was a little bit of like tension of what to expect now. I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because like right after we got married, I think I started having these like I started noticing little things that I guess I don't know if like you were acting different or if I was acting different or what was going on, but I just started noticing these little things and I was like, wait a minute. And then my story was that now because we're married, like you're gonna think different.
Or act
You're
different
gonna
or
act different or just expect different, like me to be different or just you were I don't know what it the
I think it was just triggers, because you talk about, like, we as people, we talk about committing, but when you commit, it brings everything right up to the surface, right? Like it's like, oh, now what? Like, is it what I think it was? And and I think it's normal for, like, as a woman to sometimes look at things and be like, wait a minute, is this the right thing? And needing that little extra validation in it. And so it felt to me more like questions, a lot of questions. Did anything change? And just really observing close. And there were some, I could tell there was some past stuff that kind of came up. Even for myself, there was a few things that was like, well, I don't know about this. And then you started acting a little funny, and I'm like, did like, what did I just sign up for? Like that brief moment comes to like, wait a minute, you were acting this way, now you're acting this way. As soon as we get married, like what's going on? And I think that happened for both of us. But I just stayed firm and like, no, I know this decision is what was supposed to happen. Everything's in order. And I just held firm to that. So it was like 2 weeks, and then it was like, yeah, everything's still the same. We're still good.
I feel like sometimes in just in life in general when there's a little like uncertainty,
Mm.
people get a little like we kind of freak out a little bit and we do whatever we can to just gain a little bit of certainty and control. And so I think the like we got married, which was great, super excited. It was the right decision, but then it was like then things felt a little uncertain because it's like, oh shit, now what do we do? And so it's like I guess my way in the moment was like, get triggered and then, you know, try to like gain a sense of certainty and control um, through what? Like my triggers, if that makes sense. Or anger. I wasn't angry, like wasn't getting angry though, but it was just like things started coming up and I was seeking certainty. Was
And
this right, Mac? Like, or was this a mistake? Like, tell me this was good, or like, tell me I made the right decision. Like, I was seeking confirmation and certainty just because, like, life for a moment there got a little like, oh shit, what are we doing? Or like, it got a little scary. But we were talking about, this last night a little bit. We had some great conversations last night that I felt like should have been recorded, like I always
mm,
do. But how like intimate relationships are like breeding grounds for the most growth because it's where um your biggest triggers come up inside of intimate relationships,
yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
so, but it's also like how we grow, right? Right?
Yep. So let me, before we move into that, let
Okay,
me
sure.
let me kind of touch on the get married, kind of the triggers come up, and there's a lot of things that could be a factor as far as, what time of the month was it? Was there something happening there, like emotional wise? There's the feminine test, that like unconsciously, psychologically, like women are going to test situations sometimes. So you just wind up in a I remember kind of thinking through it and being like, well, this is probably just like it's kind of hit all the triggers. It's like really kind of pushed into the top because you're committing and submitting to a situation that is like, is this the right thing? Like what's, kind of all these questions. And even though we were married, the paperwork still wasn't filed, and there was still outs, right? Like, and so the mind is like doing all this crazy stuff, and so you're processing it. And in that moment, I just knew it's like it's fine. But this isn't a hold on. This isn't something where you're going to go into it and lose it because there's, it's just a simple, this is this type of a feminine test. So as a man, when you might agree with your woman on certain things, or it seems like everything's good and you make the decision, and then she like kind of goes like throws it in your face or does something weird, you're just like, it's fine. Like, I'm not sure what this is over here, but it's not really relevant because I know the decision I made. And then that gives her the certainty. And once she realizes that that's unbreakable, that you're unbreakable, then it's like, yeah, I agree. It makes it very easy and it gives her the validation and everything else.
I think the
um,
difference between like the old me who would get triggered and react looking for certainty um, was very different than the new me who gets triggered and and seeks certainty in like a more healthy way. Does that
yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's it, I think overall though it was probably one of the biggest like old things trying to sneak in for like a split second, and then it just kind of like got assessed, figured out, and then put down. This is also why I'm so big on if you're a man and you're following God, that gives her the certainty and also gives you the certainty, because I didn't make the decision because the world told me to, because I told me to, or anything else. It was a communication between me and God, where 2 months prior to this, I did some things. I changed the game. I said, this is what I want to know. I want to know if we're going to get married or not going to get married. And I don't care how long it takes or anything else, but I need to know. So I cut off some of the interactions we were having and pulled it down, created some disciplines, and really started asking serious questions and figuring it out. Like, are we wasting our time? Because, you're amazing, but if this isn't right, like we don't want to hold each other back. It's like we have a firm belief that always thinking, If not this, then better. But we're still going to make this better. Like so we're always driving for better, but we're okay with the loss sometimes of certain things, even though I don't feel like we're ever going to be apart. But our, our health might need fixed or our business might need fixed. And so like anytime there's a disaster, it's not, well, this is a problem. No, it's just like this is an opportunity. And then we take it, we use it, and we get bigger, we grow into that. And so that's kind of what we teach our clients as well, as far as like, okay, you're in the situation. This is a great opportunity to use it, apply it because there's a reason it's happening. However, when it came to any uncertainty on like the marriage thing, I asked all the questions. Like I got exactly clear on what I wanted. I knew what I wanted and I was doing it with God. And so when I got the confirmation that this was the right thing to do, the decision was final. Final as in there is no other option or anything else. Even if I get married and she goes fucking batshit crazy, I'm like, no, like I already got the confirmation. Now my job is to figure out what's going on and solve the problem or whatever. Like I don't leave. Okay. I just don't. I fix things, I figure them out, I keep going. If it's a disaster, it is, then you just figure it out, fix it, and on the other side of it, you become better and stronger and all these other things too. Like the only way we're not together is if she runs off, in my opinion. And so once she observes that level of certainty, where it's like, no, God told me, I'm done. And then she's like, okay, okay, we're good, and then you can base that, and that's why it's so good to have that connection with God so that she can connect with you and trust what you're doing is the right thing to do. And even if I don't always do the right thing, she still knows my leading faculties are going to get us where we need to go.
Yeah, because I feel like oftentimes I'll see if the words can come out the way that like I can
Yeah.
express this, but I feel like oftentimes when us women, we either like go batshit crazy or act out of integrity or act out of, our natural patterns, right? If we act out, if we get super angry or super, if we get jealous or super triggered or super like if we just like go crazy or if we can't, I think a lot of it, like bottom line is what we're really doing is we're seeking the certainty from our man. So like I can get like soup go batshit crazy and I can say all these awful things and try to push you away. But what I'm really saying is like, please tell me how much you love me. Please tell me you're not going to leave me. Please give me certainty. I am terrified you're going to abandon me. And this is my test. And it's like the unconscious thing. And so I feel like and us women we do that um not always, not intentionally, it just
No,
happens
it's
because
just a
it's like a
thing.
survival thing, but it's also like, can
Instinct.
we trust you? Can we rely on you? Like, are you my rock, right? And so we'll test, and so life may get a little uncertain and us women freak out because we're like, we're scared because it's fear. And so we react based off of the fear, seeking certainty from our men. And oftentimes, men who don't have their own certainty react.
Yep.
And that's where it gets really ugly oftentimes. But what Mac is so good and what you talk about is just when you as a man have you're like a high level of certainty and conviction and stand strong in your truth, and you can just say this is how it's going to be and this is how it is, and give your woman the certainty that she's seeking, and see through her fear and her words sometimes. Then you can calm her nerves, her nervous system, and she will relax into you and feel safer with you. And the more that that happens, the better, the less intense her testing will become, and then the relationship will become more beautiful. But I think it's understanding what's happening on both sides. And like when I get triggered, I know I'm not, it's nothing against him. It's just me and me seeking some certainty in this moment. Like, please just tell me you love me. I'm so,
Mm.
but, but this is why it's like so important, I think, for a man, especially to seek that higher level of support
Mhm.
from God or um because that does give men some that certainty, that extra certainty, right? Because when you say it better, but when he stands in that, then and doesn't react to my tests, then I can trust you more. And then our quote unquote fights, if you will, which aren't really fights, they're less intense,
Yeah.
and we can both see like, okay, yes, Jen might be a little triggered or whatever. Max stands in his truth and certainty and doesn't react to me because he knows it's not, what I'm saying is not true. It's just my fear coming out, right?
Well, I don't assume and I don't take it personal because like I just know I made the decision.
Yes. And so one of the things that I most appreciate about you is your ability to do this,
Hmm.
to hold space for my feelings and my quote unquote triggers, because I am a human, and even though I've done all kinds of healing work and work on myself and all these things, like I'm still gonna get triggered once in a while. I'm still gonna test you and still gonna have fears and still going to, you know, some type of seek certainty from you, but also knowing that like it's all an opportunity for us to grow even closer. Because when I do have something that goes on in here where I react to it, um, it's our opportunity to talk about it, for you to hold that space for me, and for us to like, connect and see what's really going on so we can just grow from it. And so like, again, that's what one thing I really appreciate that you can do and what you do, because I don't want to like be in a relationship where I have to like dim my light or feel like I can't share my feelings with my husband, where because I've been in a relationship like that.
Yeah, that's a loaded
and
topic
s-
right there.
and so because when as a woman, when you feel like you can't, you like hide, and or go
Well, there's
blame,
stories,
or
right? That
yeah.
so like the second the trigger happens, here's the thing, like and triggers happen sometimes uncontrollable to what you're doing. You can be doing everything right. Something happens, throws your mind in a tailspin, and it's a very delicate situation because even though um there's there's so many factors here. So this is why the growth factor of a marriage is untouchable compared to any other growing faculties or factors in your life. Because one, you can't control the other person. So she gets in a relationship where she's saying, I'm going to fully commit to you because I have all this certainty. But yet in the same moment, full commitment to another person you can't control is the most uncertain place you're ever going to be. Right? That's the thing. And as a man, it's like I just fully committed to you, and if you start acting crazy, it doesn't make sense to me because I'm like, what? This doesn't add up. So I need to fully understand like the dynamics of a woman often, understand that no one is perfect. That was like leave that to Jesus. But the reality is if on her side, if she wants to be the best she can be, the second a negative thought enters the mind is when she gives it to me. Now, as humans, we don't do that. Like it's just natural to just take it in your head and be like, what is this? And then that leads to the next thought, to the next thought, to the next thought. Then it winds up someplace that's very uncomfortable. And when we're uncomfortable, we don't want to talk, but we want to go internal. And so then we become internal with a thought in our mind that doesn't make sense, but it has a possibility. Like there's a fraction of truth with it. And so then it thinks, well, what if this is the truth? And if it's against me, now you don't want to bring it to me. And also on top, if you do bring it to me, am I going to judge you? And if I judge you, or am I going to get triggered? Because most men, don't have the emotional integrity, so they get triggered and they act like a jackass. Like what the fuck, and that's an attack, right? So even though in your stories it might be like, what if it's this? What if it's this? Oh no, what if, all this freaking out. And then it's like, yeah, but I know he's not. I know it's not. He's never done that. Anything else, so you're like balancing it in your own mind, but your energy's off, right? Anytime you're dealing with the struggle, the energy's off, and the guy's like, "What's the problem?" Because you can tell typically, unless you've trained him to just check out on you because well, I'm fine, she's fine, and he goes and figures it out in his own life. But if the man doesn't do it right, it's kind of like sales, most people are sold until you unsell them. Like if they come to you asking you about something that you have, they're already sold, but they're looking for a reason to buy or not to buy, and you will typically be the reason they won't buy. Like if you say something they don't. So if she's coming with two stories, one is, what if this is the problem? But no, it's really not the problem. She's trying to convince herself otherwise. And then, she tells me, and I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking? Now I am the problem. Confirmed, right? Even though the disaster is actually happening over here, and someone could say, well, why should I have to deal with that? Well, because God made you that way. That's why. God said, love your wife, and told the woman to respect her husband, because that's the thing that negates our natural instinct, right? Our natural instinct is, like, as a man, is to call it out, address it, attack it, fix it, and be done. Love isn't that. Love is the opposite of that. Love means when it's all messed up and makes no sense, you love it anyway. I mean, you think about, like Jesus and God love unconditionally. Okay, they're probably looking at us like, look at them, just they're just total shit shows and disasters, and then we internalize it into a mess, and they're just like, no, you're fine, we love you, just come back. That's very simple. Unconditional love means love without condition, for those of you needing to catch up. In other words, it doesn't mean how much I put in effort gets me something back. And so to think, well, why should I have to put up with that, is a conditional statement. Like it's very simple. You just love, which means forgive, forget, and move on and continue. Now, there are some things that you're not going to like not put up with. Like somebody having an affair, or somebody completely disrespecting, or, things like that, where it's like, no, either you solve this immediately or we're done. On some things, it just depends on where your standards are, but you should have healthy standards. It's not going to be okay if she runs off and has an affair and then like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, nah, well, sorry doesn't cut it. Like that's just very disrespectful. Okay. Like you're commanded to respect. And for women, it's very easy to love. Sometimes unconditionally. Very simple. Like I'll just sacrifice myself till the end of till I'm dead, and it's like natural almost. Whereas to respect, it means to trust him. Like even if he's wrong, sometimes trust him. Like
Which is
he
not
will
always
get you where
easy.
you need to go.
It's not always easy to do.
Oh,
No. But I just love, again, the work that we do
mhm.
that has given me like the tools and skills to help me trust you.
Mhm. And at the end of the day, you kind of have to just be like, okay,
You
like
just let it go.
jump in the, off the diving board. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, fuck it.
I think I think one of the problems in a lot of like relationships is that we judge each other a lot, and we think the other person is supposed to be a certain way,
Mhm.
and when they're not that way, then we judge the relationship and judge them and think, oh, maybe the grass is greener over here. When really it's like it's all just knowing that like your woman is not going to be like she will get triggered, and it's okay. So rather than judging it, do what Mac does and learn how to love it and weather the storm.
Yeah, what's cool about it is, like I'll even turn it into a little bit like for myself because like honestly, I have a very large egotistical side that has to be kept at bay. Otherwise, I'm the person that's always right. That if you want to go to battle with me on social media, on a subject, on a topic, you're fucked. Okay, because I will not engage a topic that one I don't already know. Okay, so if you're in an argument with me, you should just consider that you're already screwed, or I am purely doing it for entertainment purposes, so you are wasting your time and I'm just doing it for fun, which is kind of a mix of both. Like I'm still not going to argue something I don't know. But even if I'm wrong, even if I'm dead wrong because I engaged in something that I didn't really know, but I was having fun with it, and you prove it to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Have a nice day, and you're just pissed. Okay, like that's my that's like I'm very easy for me to do that. But in an intimate relationship, very not healthy to do that. So even at the times when I'm like sometimes wanting to react because it feels like a personal attack, like, what are you saying? Like, if she says, I feel like you don't understand me. And I'm like, no, I very clearly understand you. And I think after the fact, right? Like you would agree that I'm good at understanding you, but in the moments it feels like I don't, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's like,
And it doesn't always necessarily feel like you don't. It just feels like what it really is like I'm just saying like I'm triggered. It feel like my inside does like I feel a little uncertainty. I'm gonna say it feels like you don't understand me, but what I'm really saying is please tell me how much you love me.
yeah, but for some reason those words don't, they just don't come out of the mouth when you're triggered.
Yes, yes, which is
They,
why when women are triggered, we say things that we
you're not
don't
listening to
mean.
me. You don't understand me. I don't feel like you love me. It's
But
like,
what
what
we're
the
really
fuck?
saying is tell me how much you love me. Tell me you're not gonna leave me. I can be like, and I don't do this, but I could be like, well, you're a freaking asshole and you don't do this and you don't do that and I feel, but what I'm really saying is like, again, tell me how much you love me. Give me some certainty. Like, because those words I'm saying isn't truth. What's truth is like, I'm afraid and I need certainty. That is the truth. And so when Mac is just really good at seeing past.
Well, even sometimes when I can't see past it, and sometimes I'm seriously questioning, like, do you honestly feel that way? And it's like, and I don't understand it, but I can tell that, after a couple, when it starts to go that way, I can tell it because what happens is everything I say escalates the problem.
And it's
And
not just you, this is all men.
the
When everything you say, like when a woman is
oh yeah,
triggered,
when she's triggered, like
anything you say escalates the
someone
problem.
else can say something, and like one of the worst things is if a woman is triggered and there's another person in the room and they jump into the conversation. That's like the worst thing. It's like, shut up, get out of my conversation. You're just going to make it worse. But usually when I observe that something that should actually give you a better thought, it's like, well, this, that, and it's like a problem. And so then you offer, as a man, you offer a solution, and the solution like means nothing and you get angrier. That's when, as a man, you just done. This isn't about the problem, right? This is about a trigger or a trauma or some emotional struggle. It's turned into a story that now we don't even know. And so at that point, I just switch and I'm like, well, if I did something wrong here, I'm just going to own it. So I just own whatever I did. Even if I really didn't do anything wrong, but it appears like I did, it doesn't matter. Like I'm secure enough with myself that it's fine. I'm going to be me. And I've always been honest and been me. And she loves that. So that's all I need to count on. It's okay. The second thing I do is just be like, well, this will be interesting to see how it turns around. But I'm no longer going to participate in this triggered conversation. And I'm just going to remind her that I love her, or say, maybe agree with her. Like many times I'll just try to feel what she's feeling and be like, yeah, that's shitty, right? Like that's okay. Yeah, what else? I'll ask for more and I don't fix it. I just leave it there because now my objective becomes I want to hear the thank you for listening to me after. I'm no longer trying to address the problem. I'm just saying if I did this right, I will get the reward after.
And this doing this is how oftentimes like a lot your wife feels loved by you.
Mhm.
If you get this right. If you react
Yeah,
and it's almost
it's
like
gonna get
over.
worse.
It's gonna just look toxic and you're gonna call her crazy and
And her next story is maybe I should just keep it to myself.
yeah, and then that's when you guys start like separating and truly becoming roommates.
Mhm.
And so I know that I'm personally committed to um I call it like not stacking, meaning that if things come up inside of me that I want to give to you, I'm going to.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do it in the most like it healthy way that I can possible in the moment.
But it's very like it's a very scary place to thing to do though, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
because I
fear
don't
of being
because
judged.
it is scary, but at the same time it's like deciding what do you want and in it like how do you want your relationship to look? And I want us to be I personally want to make sure that my heart stays open fully, which means like I can't stack things because if I stack every time you stack a feeling or an emotion or you feel like something you want to talk about something and then you don't because you're afraid, you stack it in your inside, and your heart just gets more and more and more closed. And then all of a sudden, he says one thing and you blow up and he reacts, and now y'all are roommates. And I just don't want that. It's like, I don't want that.
I
So,
don't even want to have to repair that type of a situation. So
right, right. And so, from before we even met, I had my vision. And I knew that I wanted to, I was already committed. I'm not going to stack. I'm going to stay open. I want to stay vulnerable. And in order for me to do that, I needed a man that could hold the space for that. And so, which is why when I was dating, I went through multiple men um, to get to you, right?
mhm.
Um, because I knew what I wanted. But I also knew that I needed and wanted a man that I could fully respect. And that's where like, Mac does his part a really good job, puts in the work of holding the space for me, even though it's not always easy because sometimes you do want to react, right?
I,
But
I I typically always want to react,
uh-huh.
right? Like the natural so like your instinct comes out to worry. There's that feminine side that's like worrying about everything to make sure everything's good. And that's a natural part. It takes effort to not be the worrier, the concern, the caretaker, like all those things. Those are natural and they're good, but they must be checked by your like spiritual side, conscious side of being able to go, is it true? What's this? And put the ones to bed that need to be put to bed, or addressing the actual, like if there's a serious fear or threat, actually being able to address it. And so you're always discerning that information. But when this one goes a little bit too far because of a trigger or some past experience that is true to you in the moment, that has to be addressed, right? Like as a woman, as a man, same thing. My instinct is to, if something comes at me, to fight it, right? Like you want to bring a battle to my doorstep. The natural masculine side of me wants to, let's go. Like it's just natural. So, or fix it. There's a problem. Fix it, provide for it, done. That so instinctually, if you come at me with some type of a story or attack or a problem, immediately I just want to fix it communicating that I'm not looking for I'm not looking for you to fix this, but what I'm looking for is my mind is telling me all these things, but maybe even preferences and say, I need you to reconfirm for me today how much you love me, and here's why. I need you to give me some certainty in the love department because my brain just went here and I just need you to listen to me, hear it, and then reconfirm everything that you already know and I ultimately know. But we got to put to bed the stories in my head, right?
That's
When
it right there.
when when
Putting to bed the
when you're
stories in the head.
triggered, you don't communicate like that, right? Like a woman's not going to want to come to the door and being with all this stuff in her mind and being like, okay, so this is what I need from you today. If I can just have some of your time, I need for you to, and let me explain in context. I need for you to reconfirm your love for me, your devotion, and tell me why I'm even present on the planet sometimes. And here's why, because I had this thought that led to this thought that went to here, that went to here. So now I'm thinking, and once if a man can see it from that angle, he knows he's like, oh, let me reconfirm for you because that is fixing the problem. But it
This
never comes at you that way.
this is why I did a really fun master class in the membership on like becoming more self-aware of your needs.
Mm.
And so you can express them to your men in ways that they can actually hear them.
Yeah, because often when this happens, like I can't even hear him. I just know the game, right? Like I know don't react. Like that's an unhealthy thing to do. I know that it reading your energy is important. So like as I'm and oftentimes something will happen and I'll just walk up to you and say, okay, give it to me. You're like, no, no, what? You try to tell me like what? And I'm like, no, we're just dump it on me now so that the stories can't continue.
Mhm.
I'd rather just like put it to bed right now. And that's a skill kind of that I've learned that's like if I feel uncomfortable, there's a reason I feel uncomfortable. And I need to figure out what that reason is because I don't like to feel uncomfortable. And also, I don't, I can't, at least I can't remember a time where I woke up thinking about a problem that we had the day before
Right.
because we just worked the problem.
We
And
work it and then it's
and we
done.
don't stack. We don't stack the problems. We don't,
Mhm.
and so there's, that's been one of the amazing things about being married. We've been in a relationship for over 2 years, and it's just like there's not really problems. I mean, some of the stuff goes quicker than it used to, uh, but it's been pretty
Well,
impressive.
there's no like fighting, there's no like yelling, there's no name calling.
Yeah, I think at most I got pretty loud once, like very firm, like no, like but it
And I
wasn't
was like,
yelling. Yeah, it's like we're not doing this. But that's also a over time I've figured out that like sometimes that story that's in the mind needs to be told no, and
It
then I'll show the
does.
love.
It does because oftentimes the story, it's like an inner child
Yeah.
coming out. And sometimes our inner child just needs to be told what to do.
Mhm.
And even though we don't always like it in the moment, it's like that's what's needed.
Yeah, and
And it gives certainty
it actually
to our
does,
inner child. So
even when it back talks.
even a man that can hold firm, like
It's like
it's
here,
just
here it comes. No,
it can
I
be
said no.
healing.
Like we're done. We're not.
Like
We're not going there.
yeah, it can be healing because you all of a sudden now your inner child starts to see like, oh, I'm safe.
Yeah,
Right? And so it's just really great. I say the amount of emotional maturity required to like lead a woman is
it's
it's crazy.
and it never ends.
But the
Like
amount
the
of
the advancement required to continue, because honestly, we will test each other in some ways as we do this.
and the amount of emotional maturity it takes to actually receive a man's love
Mhm.
is also like profound. So,
Especially in the world today.
yes. And so one of the things is like men learn how to love your wife, how to truly see her, knowing that she is going to get triggered and react sometimes because she's fucking human. Not thinking that she's batshit crazy and the grass is greener over here, right? The way to calm her nervous system is to just give her the certainty that she's seeking, learning how to do that. And then us women, we get to, we learn how to respect our men by letting go of judgments, thinking they need to do everything just like us.
Well, one of the things I want to say really clearly, it as a man, if you're not certain in yourself, if you've got bones in the closet, lies, secrets, you're not fully aware and probably don't have like a brotherhood or somewhere to go. You probably think you do, but you don't. uh, then you're fucked because you're gonna react. It's natural when we have something that's not working out in our lives that if she calls it out because it's a weak spot, and if she's feeling weak, she's gonna go after your weak spot and confirm her feelings towards the weakness, not towards the positive. Like that's not what triggers do. Triggers go, here's a problem, I don't know what it is, creates a big old story, eventually can't handle it, blows up, and pushes that button where you're weakest and gets the reaction, and then it confirms the subconscious. See, he's an asshole, right? Like now it's confirmed, and now you're fucked, and you got to do 10 times the amount of work. So rather than having to work yourself out of a hole, work yourself out of the hole you're personally in before you create holes that you get in with your relationships. So you got to work on you. You got to get direct with who you are because my life is not perfect. Okay. You might listen to the conversation and be like, yeah, I'm good at this, everything else. But my life is still a shit show. And someone could look at it and say, oh, it's a total shit show. Somebody else could be like, I wish I had your life. Well, it doesn't matter because it's going to just progress with things like, well, there's this, in growth, you're going to wind up with strong points and weak points because you're moving past the points as you grow, right? So if you focus on the weak point, you're going to be weak, and then she's going to trigger, and then you're going to react, and now you're going to have more than one problem. So being able to say, this is what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I keep my word. I don't make assumptions. I don't judge typically. Like sometimes you have to judge to some degrees. I keep a loving space as best I can. There's just rules of the game, but it really starts with being honest. When you get honest, and honesty doesn't mean like I don't lie. That's a bullshit excuse. If you really want to know what honesty is, it's the courage to expose all your weaknesses, all your problems, all your lies, and your feelings, most importantly. Because if I can express my feelings to her, so sometimes she'll react to my behavior because I'm trying to solve something, and I'm not responding to her the way she wants me to respond to her. And I'm really just tied up in my own head. And so sometimes when she starts to, like, she'll observe this and then maybe start taking it personal or something's wrong. And so then she starts shutting down, and then I'm like, oh, fuck. So then I address it, and it kind of starts a little bit of an argument. And then I realize what happened. I wasn't present in my feelings. And she just needs the honest, dead truth about my emotional centered space, and which means I have to have the courage to expose the true feelings. Hey, okay, let me just explain. This is what happened. I was thinking about this. My mind went in here. I felt this. I did this. And now I'm caught up in all this stuff. And she's like, oh, okay. And it's like that. It's done because now she fully understands where I'm at. As a man expressing that, it's not normal. Okay. Like it's not, we're not raised that way. It is something that you learn. You have to go through it. And so like in the membership, this is what I slowly start teaching guys to do, more so the one-on-one guys, or the higher level membership, where we get to go in there and figure and sort through, and you come out with ultimate certainty of like, no, I can still have a fire or a problem over here in my life, but it doesn't take away from who I am. So even if she tries to attack it, I'm like, I told you what I was doing with that. We don't talk like we're like, you're not going to lead me through that situation. I appreciate that you care a lot, but no, I told you how I was going to handle this and what I'm doing. And even if that doesn't happen at this day, I will create a different plan and we will move on that. But you don't get to make my decisions for me on how my life is going to go. I've already been clear. And it sounds very demeaning to say it like this, but when you do it correctly in a relationship, it gives her certainty because I'm taking charge for the problem and also for the successes, for the leadership, for the outcome, for all of it. I am commanding a certain level of leadership that gives her the certainty. Now, if she comes in and tells me, well, you should do that, and I react, or I even bow down to her decisions, I'm weak. And weak men don't get respect. when you don't get respect, it drives down your ability to lead. You start to disconnect. You become less masculine. She becomes more masculine, and pretty soon you can't differentiate whose role is whose, and you're fucking roommates. And there's no passion, no drive. Occasionally, maybe some, vaginal masturbation. Basically, is what it becomes, because it's not love. It's not like making love or having great sex. It just doesn't happen that way. So
Mhm. So good.
yeah.
Yeah. So, um,
Is there anything else you want to do?
I don't know. I just feel like there's so much here.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful, to kind of like be learning this stuff and figuring it out and helping others through this stuff
Hmm.
because it really does make a difference.
Yeah.
And it does matter. And it's about, changing our beliefs and what we've thought to be true in the past and like doing things different to create different. And so I'm just really excited about our relationship and where we're gonna go from here and to just keep having fun with you and um, making amazing memories and experiences and growth and all the great things. So
Yeah. So if you want to actually know how to do these things, right? Like if you want to know as a woman, how do I, how do I manage or mitigate some of the stuff that happens internally, or how do I get him to tell me how much he loves me, or how do I get what I want as a woman? That there's a woman's only call that Jen specifically focuses on teaching women what to do and how to do it, so that you can inspire the guy to give you all those things that you want, because that's what she does for me. That was the game changer. We briefly talked yesterday about how many different guys you had dated, how many different girls I had dated. You went on 40 to 50 dates, right? And even talked about there was a few on both sides that were like they would check all the boxes. Like, in fact, they almost check the boxes better than you would imagine. Like, oh yeah, this is amazing, sounds amazing on like what it looks like and everything else. But then you show up and you're like, I mean, it's good, but it's not. It's like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. And like I didn't even know what was missing on my side, but I was just like, I don't feel like that's where to go. But with her, it was like I keep feeling this pull here, even though I can't see everything, even though in the beginning I had no idea just how amazing, how deep the thought processes you had were, how much inner work you'd actually done, how much discipline you have in your emotional integrity on being able to go, no, you can't do that. You have to stay here. Or when it starts to get to that point, you're like, I have to now express it. Or even for that matter, your ability to walk away from good just to get great. Like how many times did you walk away from good to say this is I'm not my needs are not being met on all tens, therefore I must go. Like how many times was that?
well, I mean, 40 to 50, because literally
What,
everyone,
but like how many times were there like you were in a relationship that you can look back and be like 99% of women would never leave that.
well, probably like one, two, three, maybe at four, like at least
Yeah.
four.
So imagine four relationships that the love is there, like most of the boxes are checked or they're like nines, and and it's so amazing, and you're gonna literally go back to loneliness because the standard isn't met.
Hmm.
Like most people, it's not even 99%. It's more like 99 999,000 out of one to one. That's the ratio of the discipline required to actually do that. And so there's this part where I show up and I'm like, what the hell happened? Like I just felt something that I'm not sure I've ever felt before. Like within 2 weeks, and that's when I told you the like for I don't know what it is, but you make me want to be a better man.
Hmm.
And here I am at like a pinnacle of my life at being a good man. Not perfect, but still showing up like a man should.
Hmm.
And I'm like, holy shit, there's more.
Hmm.
What is this? And so if you want to know how to do that, then you better be on those calls with Jen. And you just put out like you actually gave one of the calls away or something, or one of the master classes or
I
something.
did. I gave one away on my
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah. So if you're not, I don't know, maybe you just want a shitty relationship and that's just what it is. But if not, you should be in there. And then for the men, you got to quit acting and thinking that you've got it figured out. If you're not like having sex whenever you want, if you don't feel fired up to go accomplish something or provide something or do something, if you don't have a brotherhood of men that you can go to, even sometimes when you're like, I don't know what the fuck my wife is doing, like this doesn't make any damn sense, and they can be like, yeah, we get it, and they're not going to react, they're not going to, but you have like something to like hold you together in a sense that's God led. If you don't have that, okay, yeah, you're crushing it. Good luck. Like at some point you got to get real with yourself. And I understand this fully because I did this for 40 years, like 39 years where I was, doing the best and well, no, I'll just figure it out. I'll like buckle down and I kept it to myself. And that led me straight in the pit. Okay. Like you just dig it deeper. The more you think you got this, the dumber the conversation is. That was my experience. And I know 100 other men in the same freaking boat that are doing the same thing that finally created a brotherhood and said, no, we're going to do things different. And now we do things different. And there's no more, I mean, there's little pits, but it's not like that. So if you want to know more of like how to get your woman to devote to you, to submit to you, and I don't say submit as in like she's gonna go get your beer, like we don't drink, okay? This is more like when she fully relies on your ability as a fucking man to give her everything she needs. Like that's what fuels that masculine side to boost your testosterone, where it's like when you know your woman depends on you, you show the fuck up, just like your kids and everything else. So if you want to drive that kind of love, sex, and intimacy from your woman that's going to give you the fuel to go produce more than you've ever known how to produce before, like imagine your income is this, then you fire up this engine and you 10x it. Okay, like imagine that. You want to do that type of thing, then you find me. So that's it.
Wonderful. Yes,
Yeah.
so good.
All right. That's plenty of conversation on that.
Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot, but
But that's it.
yeah, we're gonna end it there. Bottom line, the 1 year into a marriage, it just has been getting better. It is probably the most uncertain but certain place we've ever been. It is the most growth because you're not controlling, like I said, like, when you commit to the other person, you're like, oh, I can't control this. So how do I grow? I just keep growing. That's how. And so we just do it and we love it and we remind each other. We try to always express the feelings that how much we love each other. We recognize what we're giving to each other.
I'm having more fun than I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah, me too. And just the other day we were talking about like holidays or something, and when we met, I was like, I don't really do holidays because anytime I want to take a vacation, I just leave. Like I just do it. But she enjoys it. So now I'm like, no, I want to do it for you, which like I cherish her. And a lot of that is because of the way she shows up, but I'm also like just being a man and like it feels good to provide and protect and fill her up and like give her those things. And so it's like the things that may have not been fun before are now more fun and becoming like a thing in a sense. You know, even she takes 1 billion pictures and I even take pictures now. So it's 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 just a sheer blessing to have kind of got to this point and figured it out. And now as we get to help other people do it, watch them receive it and they're just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it's like that's a that's like a gift from God to be part of that. So okay.
All right.
All right, we'll see you
Fingers
guys.
crossed.
Yep, next week we'll see you. Bye. Maybe.